Welcome to the mountain in us, where the journey gets its voice. I am Taran Singh. This season, we take on new trails for deep rooted reflections on our passions, paths, and purpose. Together, let's explore the thrills, ascents, and descents of our uncharted adventures. Hey everybody, today my guest is Renata Cuellar, a Colombian-American professional artist, soulful art curator, and an animal lover. We are here to explore the language of colors and the essence of breath through art. Welcome, Renata.
Hi, Taran. Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be here and speak more about my artwork and my journey, the challenges, overcoming uh, the different challenges. And I just want to have a chance to be able to share that with the world. And I'm excited to go into that more.
Awesome. Thank you, Renata. Stars for us have also aligned. I've been trying to do this conversation for a long time. Uh, so thank you for coming. We'll kick off with your early journey. You started with brush and colors very early in life. What got you hooked so early?
I think it's something innate. I just always remember practicing and wanting to be better at what I was drawing. I just remember in school, it was just something that just came natural, and I was just really drawn to creating things, not only on paper, but I would create things like 3D and just working with my hands and making things out of nothing was really something really special for me. It was something that was definitely there from the start that
Yeah.
I can't even explain.
Yeah. And you said, innate but your parents were also very encouraging of what you did uh, with that. What was certain things that, what were the things that you did that your parents then infused more, right? Did you pick up, as you said, that you went from sketch to modeling? Was it something that you were trying things at, or were there things that were at your home that you were able to do and say, okay, this makes sense?
So yeah, I started with drawings. I mean, there was a whole bunch of creative things that I was always trying to get my hands on, but I know specifically when it comes to painting, it was more drawing, and I would always just practice. And I was so young, so it's like you can only make it so good at at such a young age. But I was always trying to make it better, and so I'd keep redrawing, keep practicing. And then my mom noticed when I was very little that she would find me just drawing or painting. She said one time she found me like behind the door and I was making artwork, and I think I was in diapers at that age. And that was something that she noticed, like I mentioned, when I was very young. And then as I got older, she kept on seeing the same routine. And then she said, well, I think we need to put our daughter, she spoke to my dad and she said, I think we need to put our daughter in an art school. So
Yeah.
at that point, yeah, she's like, at that point, there was a school, we lived in Long Island in New York at the time. So she brought me to the Roslyn School of Painting.
And this is high school. This is in your high school years.
No, I was actually around like 6 or 7 years old when around seven maybe when she put me in that school. So it
Oh,
was
so you're 7 year old at the time.
yeah, so it was I was very young when I started painting. And I was very, very blessed and really lucky to be put in this school. It was a huge blessing for me.
But this was a school of kids, or was it school for adults and everybody, right? Was it a mixed school?
It
Like,
they teach adults and they teach children.
okay, so it was okay, got it.
Yeah,
So,
so they have classes for children and adults, and everyone ends up knowing how to paint at that school. I mean, I built a really great bond with the owner, who is no longer with us, but his name was Charlie. And then I had another instructor, Julianne Smith. They were incredible. But I built a really good relationship with the owner. We just had such a good bond, and he just taught me the foundations of art, and not just to the superficial part. It was like the anatomy of, like let's say horses, and the human body in terms of like the lungs protect, I mean the the ribs protect the lungs, and the skull protects the brain, and these anatomies also leak into, or the same into, when we're drawing like structures or things, elements like a landscape, like the horizon still exists beyond. If you're painting the forefront, the horizon is still in the back. So there's just so many different elements and angles that he made me see, and even the colors, how he taught me how to mix the different colors, how he allowed me to like actually see. So I remember one time he like brought me to a wall, and it was white wall, and he's like, "What do you see?" And I'm like, "White." He's like, "No, what do you actually see?" And I'm like, he's like, "Okay, when you're painting white, there's so many different elements." And he brought up like, there's shadowing, there's different colors when you're even just combining these. So he was very thorough in his teaching. I was really blessed to be taught by him and Julianne Smith. So that created a great foundation for my artwork.
Yeah, yeah, and you said that right in that that once you get to that commitment of art and your parents had enriched it, that once you went back to normal school, it must be a different chain, right? You're living two lives at that point, right? You're probably juggling homework and artwork in ways that we as probably kids don't
Yes,
understanding.
exactly. So I would go to normal school, and then during the weekend I would be going to art school. So yes, it's a kind of like a double life. And then it also, I use my artwork like to compete in school events for art. I was able to win many. There was a drunk driving contest, and I made a 3D model. And I was so little, but I was the only one that came up with this concept of somehow showing the consequences of drunk driving through this 3D model, but it was also artistic, and I won a prize for it. So yeah, it was neat that I was able to do that.
And in that early age, having committed to art so early in your life, how was getting done with high school and then becoming a professional artist? Like once that dawned on you that, hey, this is what it is, that I'm going to make my life being an artist. what what went through you? Like, is there something happened, or was it that you said, okay, this is it, I'm just going to be dedicated to being a professional artist? Is something that you remember, or something happened, or just that it happened naturally?
So when I was little, I think I was in first grade, I wrote something down and said, when I grow up, I want to be a professional artist, which is funny. But then, we go through life. We moved to Florida. So I was in that school for like 7, 8 years, I think, about. And when we moved to Florida, I was taught like such an advanced level of art that I kind of felt a little stuck. Because now I wasn't taking classes. I was just taking the classes for school, public schools. Um, I wasn't as challenged, to be honest, but I did have really great teachers there. I remember Miss Schwait was a wonderful teacher when I was in my freshman year of high school, and she had my sister as well, and she was such a nice mentor, and she really believed in me. And as a freshman in high school, she would come and bring me a book, and because a lot of people were telling me I wouldn't be able to survive as an artist. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I have to go the science route. Like I can't do art. And to counteract that, she would come and be like, here's a book. Do you see these illustrations? This is what you can do for a living. And so she really inspired me. Like she always, oh, little tiny things to try to like to get me to shift my mindset. Because on my dad's side, I have wonderful parents. They're my biggest cheerleaders. But there was a point when my dad didn't quite understand my creative journey. So, but my mom was always like, "No, you can do it. You can do it." And my dad just didn't understand it because he was put into working since he was very young. So, and from South America, and it was just this mindset that you just have to, just work when you're a teenager and throughout.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that's a good support you had. But that tug of war exists in every immigrant families when art comes to getting bread on the table, and the value of art just suddenly dips to the ground, right? And that is encouraging word that you have been able to take this journey in stride and be able to do so much with it. And from freshman to high school to now professional artist, uh, give us a glimpse of what were some of the pivots you had to do to be able to create some of the pieces you have created in the world.
well, it took me a while to actually accept that I wanted to be a professional artist. So I went to college for something completely different. And then I think that's when I went like
So what did you do? What did you go for college?
I went to University of Central Florida and I wanted to help people like through psychology or be a counselor. And then later in life, when I graduated, I went to grad school for a year. I really have an interest in like cognitive science and stuff like that, which I still find very interesting, but it's just not my calling. And then at that point, after that 1 year, I had a breakthrough and I said, I want to do art. Like I don't feel good if I don't do art. Like it's just part of my being. And so that's where I had that pivotal moment where I said, and that was a struggle though, because I had to start from nothing and then like create a career in art. And then I had also like some family members that were trying to pull me in directions that you can't, it's impossible. And then luckily I still had my mom telling me like, no, but you can.
Was your mom
Yeah.
your biggest driving force for
Yeah.
change at that time?
Yes. And my dad, now that he sees me like that, it's possible. And he doesn't, it's not that he's a great person. They're both great people. And he has been such a huge cheerleader. Both of them have been, but it's just the way that they're from the time when they were raised, the 50s and how he was just like put into work right away and he didn't have a choice. So, and coming from South America, it's less of a creative freedom. Here in America, we have much more freedom to be able to express that and become successful. And that's what we're really lucky with that aspect. But yes, my mom has been she was the one that like found the school. She was the one that said, no, we got to put our daughter in the school. Like she really was, and she still is. I still go to her and I say, what do you think about this painting? What should I do? Because she's an artist as well. So she understands. So it's easier to connect with another creative because sometimes people that aren't creative don't understand that underlying depth that comes with being an artist that is not really a choice. It's something that you're just born with.
Yeah. And when you made that big pivot and to find, now you're not just doing art for the sake of doing art, but you're trying to also make a living out of it. At what was like, how are you hustling to find work? Give us something. What was happening in your head, and how are you positioning yourself to find work, but also to find meaningful work because you were just not painting anything you wanted to paint, right? You had certain barriers or certain conditions of what you would paint and what you won't paint, right? So how
Yeah.
did that happen, and how did you come up with the hustle and your classic signature, which is so colorful?
So it started actually, I started hustling when I was like really little. I would do these garage sales and I would paint these rocks, and then I was always trying to make some kind of creative profit. So then like I kind of had to like, yeah, dig into that part and bring it back when I was an adult and just be creative and think out of a box to be able to make money from my creations. I think it was more commissions is what I was doing. I found ways to advertise myself. I'd find people that were looking for artwork or for custom pieces, and I would reach out. So I was constantly like just looking for different works and different commissions.
Is there a particular client or a commission that you have done that you remember and in a way that is either memorable or funny or whatever memory it brings, but is there some piece that you from your initial work that you remember, this was it, this was when I really felt that I've made the right choice of following my creative instinct?
Hmm. I started getting a lot more commissions.
For those of us who don't understand what a commission means, what does a commission mean?
Yeah, so it's when someone hires you to make a piece from scratch. So it can be something, it depends on each client. It's a customized work of art. They could be something personal to them and they sometimes give you freedom to do whatever you want with their idea, or sometimes it's very limited. So it's a huge range. It really varies between clients, and also making the other person happy through art. So yes, it's a customized piece, but it's for me it's more in depthful because you want to make this person happy through this piece of artwork and be able to portray what their vision is, but they're unable to form it and create it.
Having worked on two commissions with you, and I attest to that, you have a very explorative mind in the beginning to understand what is in the head, especially for the work that we have done. But I'm imagining, right, that you have to do a lot of legwork and finding out of box things, and especially when the clarity from clients like me who are everywhere is tough, right? Because there, what I like about working with you, especially, that you can imagine before even the imagination has come, right? So what is your recipe for imagination? What do you do in your daily life, and how has that become a part of your painting life too?
So I think God is my one huge part. I'm not very religious, to be honest, and I completely respect religions and everything, but I think just connecting to God, and I believe in guardian angels and just guiding angels and the spirit. I That's how I connect, and it just came naturally. I did it since I was very little. I just would just be like, what direction should I take? I'd always seek guidance in that, and I don't know if it just came natural to me, and it's still always there. And so that's where I dig deep into like my higher voice.
That bent of spirituality that you are saying, right, is that something that you picked on the way, as you picked up art, or was something that was innate too, right? It's just that you
It was innate. It was always there. I mean, I remember I always remember always like just connecting and like thinking. I just always connected. Since I was like very, very little, that's something that was always there for sure. Yeah.
and is that something now with when you pick up a brush, or when you are doing some work of the work, as an artist, paint us a picture what is going on in the space you are, and how does that connection feel to you in your heart and mind and soul?
So I always do prayers too, and I even like bless my water. I know it sounds like dorky and stuff, but like I always just do prayers like please lead my hand in the right direction. And sometimes I'll make mistakes, but somehow and then it's funny because sometimes your hand will like just like move in a certain direction and it'll create the perfect stroke or perfect color. And sometimes obviously there's mistakes and you have to wipe it off, but it's I'm always asking for guidance and to help me know when to stop, or because that's also a thing with art. Knowing when to stop is like it takes a really long time to know, okay, you need to leave this piece alone, and also you need to just sleep for the night because you have to walk away and let it breathe so you can come back with fresh eyes. So there's like this relationship that you form with this work that you're working with in order to make it how you want to create it. But yeah, so there's prayers, and I think like listening to that higher voice. And then there's also like sometimes I even hear Charlie, like, no, you would like, I know he's not there, but like, when you have a really good coach and you've heard them like here next to you, guiding you for a long time, for so many years, and then it's like, okay, no, Charlie would not like that part. So, like, so it's kind of like it's a combination, the spirit, like technique, like from the experience throughout my life and the teachers I've had. So it's just a whole combination working together, and then your own personal journey as an artist and picking up these different techniques. So because that takes a really long time to build too, bringing your own style, which comes really from yourself.
Yeah,
So
yeah, especially in the age of AI, this is the only signature. Our own signature is the most important thing. Everything else is copyable, right?
yeah.
And you talked about, you let the painting breathe, but you also take a break and run and put yourself in a different mode when you're not painting. Talk to us a little bit about, how does that part of your life completes you as an artist?
It's huge. I connect again with God more some. But it gives me like a natural space to be in nature because I like to be outside and go to the grass and like run into rabbits or like see a coyote, and just the challenges of the running, the physical part is not easy. So going through that, and then also while I'm doing that, I'm processing things, and then I start painting in my head. And then as I'm running, I'm also thinking about the pieces that I'm working on, and I'm constantly thinking about like each project. It's like a constant. I have to look at it at different angles. So then I take that time when I'm out there and going through this physical activity and this meditative state to process and maybe see it from a different angle that I wouldn't see it. And then some answers come to me. Then sometimes I see it differently. Sometimes I start to like paint with my hands while I'm running.
Yeah, rather, rather than your rather than your hands synchronizing with your legs, you're synchronizing it on a canvas.
And then, yeah, trying to, I'm like, is anybody here? And then make sure no one's looking. But
That's
it gives me a bigger canvas. And I guess that's where I use my imagination also to like see it differently, or like, okay, how can I do this? And then sometimes even some things in nature I get ideas from. Like sometimes there's some leaves that have these perfect pigmentations of like orange and red, and then sometimes there's these greens, and I just get inspiration from different elements outdoors too. So it's all another combination as well when I'm running.
yeah. No, you're soaking in so much, and that the breadth of colors are visible in some of your paintings. I also know that a couple of years back you had to stop running to heal the
Yeah.
injuries. How was that period when you had to still paint and still be able but not able to do something that you loved, right? How did you cope, and how did art help you become stronger in that phase?
Even when I was healing, I think I would just try to go outside. I think just being in nature helps.
Was there something that you saw within yourself, your own self-awareness, body, when body is down, right? Because you're, as an artist, right, you're still using your body to do all the work, right? And some of these work that you do are so huge, like some of the wall murals that you do is not just a small sketch job.
Yeah.
It is like a couple of months. I know you did some big work in New York in somebody's house, and that thing was huge. Like I was like, it's and So did you have to choose what you would do during that period, and how did you get back and into the rhythm once how are you listening to your body to get back into the rhythm and
Yeah,
fully functional?
I think it's also, yeah, I think that's it, listening to your body. Because once you get an inner injury, you become more attuned to listening, so you don't have, you don't get that re-injury. But I did sneak in a few runs, but even if it was, and I don't suggest it if you're sitting, but I think listening and also taking the time to heal was sometimes stepping back is helpful to moving forward. So I had to do that several times to heal. It took a long time and it's still not healed. It will never be like 100%, but and I probably shouldn't be running as much as I do, but I do have to be really attuned to my body. And if it hurts too much, not to run or, do too much or just learn to take care and listen to what your body's telling you.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you you've come full circle when something you love is also important for your life in many ways. I want to switch gears to art world again, is understanding some of the pieces that you have done. What are you currently working on, number one? And number two, what are some of the pieces that you say, oh, I did this and I didn't think it will come out that way, right? What were the things that surprised you in your own journey that I want to hear a little bit more about? And then secondly, what are you working on, right? So those two questions, and you can answer them in any order.
Sure. Well, I guess I'll start with the second one. Most of the art pieces that I do work on, I'll have a vision in my mind, and I will then paint it, and it's not how most of them don't turn out exactly how I saw it and my envisioned it. I mean, I do get some kind of visions, but and I strive to make it what I'm seeing. But they normally translate different, and that happens a lot. It happens so much where it just translates so different when you paint it. And so um yeah, that is something that happens really often.
Are you pleasantly surprised, or are you like, is that something that you know it's going to happen and you let it come in naturally, or is it something that happens and you have no unknowingly happen and you let it, and you come to know only at the end of it, oh, this was not what my vision was and this is what it turned out? Like, how does that come out in the process, in your process?
So yeah, it's kind of like I have to let it be because I can't do it. I sometimes I'll try to redo it, but it's very rare because that's just kind of like language, or when you're translating different languages, it's just they're all so different, but it's not going to be exactly the same. So I feel like the same thing with art when you're translating, when I'm translating it, sometimes it's just sometimes it translates really, really well, and then sometimes it doesn't like I just didn't think it translated too well. So, and sometimes it's the medium that I'm using, but most of the part I let it be because it's just this is as good as I can get to how I can translate it, how I can make it living on canvas through paint, through different mixed media.
Yeah.
So yeah, so most of the time it's rare where I don't really like it. Most like majority of the time it's this is what it is. I know I did my best. It's just different.
Thank you. And then the second piece, what are you currently working on? What is the medium of your choice these days?
So yeah, I love to stick with mixed media. It really depends on the client that I'm working with in their needs and what they're after, especially keeping the pieces cohesive to their own environments. And then using my style as well. I'm working on like some custom artworks, especially if, there's this one client, I'm doing her home. So I'm doing some landscape pieces that are going to be facing each other. And she has a very, very particular style. Um, Not really style, but just she has just particular art that she wants to convey. So I really do my best to meet her needs and keep it minimal, and more classical. So I like to also pivot with my forms of artwork. Then there's a dentist office that we just started working on, the office, and making some custom pieces which are um, relevant to his dentistry office, but they are more imaginative pieces. So again, being able to pivot, and especially when you're making these custom pieces, is vital, I think. And then there's other custom works that differ. And like for instance, there's another client that I'm doing these custom pieces for, and I use like a lot more texture and vividness, and then another client may need something more minimalist and more classical. So, but it still looks like my art. So keeping it true to your style and um, your expression is also important as well.
Yeah, no, your authentic pieces are, part of my household, so I can see that, and I'm glad that you're following your instinct, and in this age of instant creation, you let the things bake, and let them breathe, and so they can breathe in on the walls too. My last question to you is around, you know, what would you advise newer generation or people that are thinking of, creating art as a medium of their work, worship too, but also as their medium of earning? And what would you guide them? What would you tell them? Whatever comes to your mind and heart.
I would say to not give up, to continue pursuing their dream, their practice, continue practicing. Um, the challenges are good, I think, and overcoming them for sure. Challenging yourself, and also learning from the challenges that are, you know, come from different projects, because there's going to be things that arise in each project. Sometimes they'll be easier, sometimes they'll be harder, and sometimes it's overwhelming, but you can still achieve it. And there's just so many resources nowadays. And to be creative with their resources, in order to expose their artwork and themselves to the world.
Yeah, that's the artistic advice. But I also want to see what the hustle advice is, because as an artist you have to hustle a lot in the beginning, right? Like,
Yeah.
and that is sometimes tiring and exhausting, and that's where frustration, snaps you. Like, and I tell this to myself sometimes, as an author, I don't think, just selling a book is sometimes so hard, and I don't think I could be a poet or an author for life, because I know that I don't have the hustling capability to be able to sell things, and to be able to make people my things desirable in others' hand, right? And that hustling, I want to hear a little bit about more about that. How you talked about painting rocks and selling. How can, as an artist, one can, what would be the advice from and the hustler Renata to be able to get your work out there?
Um, So yeah, it's difficult. The art route, it's not easy. So and it doesn't come quick. It's something that takes a long time to build, um, to find your unique style, to find your voice. But um, definitely, and it's not easy to also advertise yourself. So yeah, you're making these creations, and then you have to advertise yourself and get yourself, expose yourself. So Yeah, there's a lot of hustle involved in that, and finding different projects, the communication between different clients, the preliminary sketches, the coming up with ideas, and continuing to find other, like filling up your calendar. So, you know, you're working on this project, you have another project lined up, and then um, like very future oriented mindset as well. Writing down goals is super important, but also taking action steps to be able to cross those things out. And um, it's all um, it's a lot of work, but it's definitely possible. Um,
No, it is possible. You have proven it for us, and I think you're an inspiration not to just to the pieces you do, but also to the people that can see a pathway exist for us as artists, right? And that is a bliss to the journey that you have taken and given us the light as a the hey, this is possible. So I truly thankful for what you do, and I appreciate you coming here and giving us time and wisdom about what you paint, but also how you get things done. So thank you for
yeah,
coming, and thank you for making time for us, Renata.
my pleasure. It was a nice journey. It was nice to talk about the artistic journey because I feel like I don't not able to talk about it, or I just don't have an outlet to do that. So it just goes through the paint and the brush strokes and the
Yeah,
canvas. So it
yeah.
was nice. I
No,
appreciate
it
it.
is good. We got a glimpse of it, and I promise you we will have you here next time again to
Yeah,
give a little bit more deeper into the weeds. But this was great, amazing. And thank you again. Have a great rest of the weekend.
my pleasure. You too. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for joining us on the Conversation Trails of the Mountain in Us podcast. Each episode here is crafted with love, adventure, and reflection. We hope you have enjoyed this one, and we welcome your thoughts on it. And if you want to be on the show, feel free to reach out.